So welcome to this webinar, and in this webinar, we are going to see how to write test cases on e-commerce website. So basically here we are going to test a e-commerce website and we'll write certain test cases, and that test elements and what test cases we are going to write, and we'll see how we'll write those test cases. So first, let's understand that to write this test case, what's required. So we need a testing tool like Selenium and TestNG, and as well as you need a programming language that's Java. So basically, when you are like if you are new to this programming section or to the testing part, so basically these are the basic requirements for testing to perform testing. Basically, you can say these are the basic requirements. So you need to know about the core part of the Java, and you need to know these two testing tools at least to start testing in for the web pages basically. Now the one that we are trying to, the one that we are trying to test here, or you see the website that we are trying to automate here is this one. So we are trying to automate this website here. So I'll show you what exactly we do. So this is a e-commerce website, and in this e-commerce website we'll perform different test cases. So what type of test cases that you'll see here? So these are basically the different types of test cases written. So usually what happens when you work on some particular project or when you work on some websites, you see that you get some test cases to test, and based on that test cases, you just try to check whether the test case passed or failed. So here are different scenarios. Like the first test case scenario is login to website. So the steps are written that what steps you need to perform to do login. So basically what you are going to do here is you're going to read these steps, and based on these steps you are going to uh, write the test cases, and that also in programming language. Basically that's how the automation goes. So here the different test cases that you see here is basically here it's a few test cases steps are written, and we'll follow that steps. So basically when you do these steps, the approach will be like first you will try that thing manually, and then you will try to write that in terms of code. Now if I write code, I know it's completely a new thing, so it's like you'll find it bit like it's not so easy to understand the very first time, but still you'll get an idea that how we are writing the codes and how we'll proceed in future, what exactly and how easy it is to write the steps here. You'll see all of this. So basically let's start with the first test case that says login to website. So in this test case basically we have four steps. The first one is click on login icon, second one is enter the email, third one is enter the password, and the fourth one is click the login button. So these are the four test cases. So first, this is the website that we are going to test, and this is an e-commerce website. So that website is here. Here, when you open this website, like this is the default website icon. When you open this website, basically the screen looks something like this. Right now it's logged in. So let me log out from here. Now, when you click on these icons, basically you see the first step, it says here, when you see the first step says click the login icon. So I'm talking about this icon. When you click on this login icon, it gives you these details like enter the email address, enter the password, and then click the sign in button. So as manual tester, you will write the email address, you'll write the password, and then you will click the sign in button. That's how you will proceed. But um, that's how you're going to proceed. But now when you write the same thing in terms of code, how it looks. So here in terms of code, basically we use a platform that's Eclipse, and in this platform we are going to write our test cases. So now the structure, what you see of the project is somewhat similar, or you see the project or the structure is this. When you will be into the testing process, you'll see this structure, how to create a project, how to create packages, and how to create classes inside it. Okay, so you'll get idea of all of this one by one. So right now what I've done, I've just created a structure where I'm going to write my steps. Basically, I'm going to write my test cases. So the first test case is for login, and I'm going to write the test case for that. Okay. So the first one is for that. So I'm going to write the test case for that thing. So now what exactly you have to do here is you have to create a separate test case for every section. So before that, a few steps I'll write it. That's basically before test. The steps that we are writing is before the test case executes, we need to write few steps like what type of steps you can say the steps like where we have to the drivers, or basically the place where we are going to test this thing, we have to mention that. And here we'll write uh, annotation as before test. Okay. Now, so here in this section, we are just going to define the details, basically the details that's needed to start the test cases. So here you see basically I pass the path of the driver, the one that I'm going to use, as well as I'll pass the website link that I'm going to test, that website link, and then I'll start writing my test cases. So just to write the test cases, basically what you need to do is you need to use this keyword, that is test keyword, annotation test keyword, basically we call it, and we start writing our test cases. So the first test case is to log into website. So I'll write the test case name here as login website. And then once I write this thing, then here inside this, I'm going to write my steps. So basically, I'll follow the step. The first step says click the login icon. That's my first step. So this is my login icon, and I have to click on this login icon. So just to find the details, or just to connect to that particular icon or click on that icon, I'll go there, I'll right click, and I'll inspect that section. Okay. When I inspect, you see I get some details from here. So just I'll try to pick details from here. Basically, there are different types of locators, are basically the locators that helps to identify those elements. So just what you have to do, you have to identify that section and perform certain clicks or something related to that on that particular section. So right now, if you follow this step manually, what do? You go, you click on this icon, and this section is open. So just to make this happen through automation, you have to write the same thing in terms of code. Now you see the steps that you do manually, the same way you're doing through automation. So I go here, I right click, I do inspect, and I go to this section, right click. Again, I go to copy, and from there I do copy XPath. So by this, I'll get the details of that particular element that's present here. That's called the customer icon. So here in my code now, I'm going to write certain steps here. It's like this browser object is one of the object that we are going to use. So we'll write a browser object dot find elements by dot XPath. So basically this XPath, this help us to locate the elements, and there I'll try to perform click on this. Now this is how we write the test cases. So now the steps, what you see here, this will look completely new to you, but you'll find the common thing. It's like these steps, whatever we are writing, it's quite common. Just what changes is these values. Like sometimes we'll use XPath, sometimes we'll use ID, and sometimes we'll use locators. So if you talk about different types of locators over here, then you will see different types of locator over here is like you can say we have locators like we have ID, XPath, name, class name, link text. So basically these are different locators that help us to identify that element, the element that we are trying to test. So these are different types of locators that help us to identify those elements. So out of these identifier locators, I'm using one of them to perform click, or just to identify that particular element. Now, because this section, if you see in the real time thing, because this section is a click section, if you talk about the website, in that website you'll find that this section is a click section, so we use the click method here. So if you try to relate to these codes, you'll find the steps very easy. By this I identify that element, and by this click I try to perform click on that particular element. Now once you do this, then the next step that you see here is they are asking for the values in this email address and password. So when you do this thing manually, what do, you go, you write the email address here. Like this is one of the email address, that's the user email address I'm going to use here. So now I'm doing this thing manually. So I go, I do right click, I put the password, and then I click the sign in button. So when I do this, you see I'm logged into the website. Now, the same thing when I'll do in terms of code, what I'll do, just I'll follow the same step. The thing is that I need to connect to that particular element, the email address and the password section. So here to this email address, I'll right click here. Again, I'll inspect. Now, this is the process, or you say this is the way to identify a element. Now, in this highlighted section, you look for the locators. Any one of the locators that I'm talking about. I mentioned some few locators there. So out of those locators, I'll look for any one of them. So here you find multiple of locators like ID, name, class name, all available. In the last case, where you'll see there we didn't had these locators, so I went for the XPath. So here I'm going for these locator because it's available, it's there. So I'll go for this locator, either the ID or the name locator. I'll go for any one of this. So right now I like to go with this ID locator. So now you see the steps are similar. Same steps we are going to write again. Browser object dot find elements by dot ID. And in this ID, I'll pass the ID value, whatever the ID value is, that I'll pass it here and paste it here. Now, in the last case, it was like we are trying to perform click. So at the end of this, I use the click method. Here, I have to send certain values to that particular section so that we can log in. So that's why we'll use this send keys method. And in this send keys, I'll pass the values like whatever the email address is. So this is the email address. I'll pass that. Okay. And the next one is for the password. So I'll do the same thing. Basically ID, and again you see one more thing what I've done here is inside this ID the value was email, so I just copied the same value and pasted it here. So that helped me to identify that particular section, the ID section. Basically you can say the username section. Now the same thing I'll do for password. I'll go here, I'll right click here, and again I'll do inspect, and after inspect I'll look for the locators. So again I find a locator as I did. So that's like few things that you need to know is that which locator to look for. If a locator is available, take that. If not, then go for the XPath that we did in the first case. So here under locator is ID. So again I'll write the same step. You see the steps are similar here again. Browser object dot find element by dot ID. Again I give double quotes, get back here, take the value inside it, that is this, paste it here, and again you say dot send keys, and here I'll pass the password as well. Cool. So what I've done here is I have passed the email address, I have passed the password. Now comes the sign in button. So I'll go to this sign in button, I'll right click here, and again I'll inspect. So this time in this sign in button, again I find class, ID, and these locators available. So any one of this, it's not that that all the locators will be available. If you have anyone, use that. So right now again I'll go for this ID locator. So again I'll write the same steps. So you see the steps are similar, just you need to understand how to write them, and then it will be very easy for you to understand or to use it at any cost. So that's the beauty of automation testing. Though it looks difficult, but it's not. It's very easy. Just you have to understand the basics and just use it. So I've copied this ID, pasted over here, and this time I'm going to use the click method again because I'm going to log in it here. Again, I'm like manually when I did this step, I clicked on the login button and that executed. So now let me run this section. So here you see I've created two sections. One place where I'm trying to define the drivers. Now, basically, if you talk about drivers, I'll tell you driver is, you can say a dummy part of the real-time thing. Basically, Firefox or Chrome browser, those are the browsers that you use for the real-time testing. Basically, you open the websites on that browser. Now, the same browsers, if you want to use the same browser, if you want to use for the testing purpose, then you'll not be using the real one. Instead, you will download a driver that works similar as a browser, but it's not a browser. So what you have done here is you have set the path of those browser, and the path is here. And that path, basically these drivers are stored at this location in C drive. And again, I've created a reference, or you say object of the class. These classes are basically defined in Selenium. When you will study, you will get to know more deep into it. So basically, these are the classes that's already defined in Selenium, and here I use a get method that's basically used to open the website. So if you want to open a website in real-time projects, you'll use this get method. So this get method will basically help you to open the website links. Now, the next method that you see here is that's basically for writing the test cases. So this was my first test case that we studied, and we have 4 steps here: that click the login, enter the email, enter the password, click the login button. So I've written 4 steps here. The first one where I click the login icon, second one where I entered the email address, third one where I entered the password, and the last one where I entered the login button. So as many steps, that many steps I have to write. First try that manually and then do through automation. Now just to run this complete thing, you either click this run button over here, you click the run button, or right click and go to run as, and from run as click this TestNG test. So when you do this, you'll see a driver will open. You see something like Firefox driver opens, or you can say it's basically the Firefox browser opens, but it's not a real-time browser. It's a dummy browser. And you see, based on the details, what I've done, based on that, I'm logged in. So now by this, I figured it out that the email address and the password that I'm using, that's the real one. In fact, that's the correct one. And that means that if you are using a valid username and password, you are allowed to log in. Same way, you will have a test case where they will ask you for the negative scenarios, where they will not give you the valid username and password. So that's what testing is, and that's how we write the test cases. So we just follow the steps. Based on the steps, we decide what to write, and we write it in that way. Understand the scenario. It's a very simple story. And the test cases can be in any form. Right now, I'm doing just the positive one. At least you can see how things are happening. And when you get back to this platform where you're writing test code and you come to the console window, you see here it says how many. Now it's giving you the report, or basically giving the status of your code, whatever you have done. So like here you have written 2 different methods, but you have got the test report for one itself, because the first one is before test. That means if you want to add any step before executing a test case, you can add it here itself. That's what the complete thing means here. So that's here, that's why. And the before test is for that. So here in TestNG, when we are writing the test case, or when we are, now these things, what you see, these steps are basically the steps of Selenium. And using these lines, like at line number 24, you see something as @test, we call it as annotation test. This thing is from the TestNG. So I said in the beginning, the requirements are like Selenium, TestNG, and a programming language, that's Java. And what these codes, whatever you have written, it's in form of Java. These steps, a line code, whatever you see, this is in form of Java. And the steps are these lines, what you are writing, these are defined in Selenium. And just to maintain the structure, we are using the TestNG structure, that is this. So because of these annotation tests, the test report is generated. What it's generated, it generates like 1 test runs, and because it passed all the scenario, it says pass 1. So basically, as many as test cases you will create, that many reports it will generate, and you will have that record of that you tried 10 test cases. Did all test cases pass? Did anyone fail? So here all was like, if you see, I have written all the positive test case, so as I am expecting that all the test case should pass. So it's doing that. So that's the first step, how we start writing the test case. And that's what we are learning here, that how to write a test case in case of testing. So basically, you are getting an idea that it's a very simple thing. Just you need to follow a few steps. And if you watch these codes, it looks completely, it's like most of the steps are similar. Just understanding that how to use them, and as well as the methods that you are using, in which case you are using what methods, that's only required and nothing else. So this was how you wrote the first test case, and this is how we proceed writing the test cases. Now I'll write a test case for the second scenario as well as third, so you'll get more idea about it. And then you'll get a clear view that how we write the test cases, how we present our test case, and we use it at real time. So the second test case here, it says go to home page. That means now the same thing I'll try manually. So once I'm logged in here, like once I've entered the details over here, right now I'll enter the details. And once you have entered over here, now the next step you follow from here after follow the step log manually. So here it says the second step is click the go to home page. So for that, what you have to do, click home text. So here you find this text. Why I said text? Because home looks like a text to you. So what you will do, you need to go and click on this particular home text. Now to click on this home text, as usual, you will do right click, you will do inspect. This will give you the section of that home. Now here when you get this highlighted section of this home, that is this one. Now here you will not find any locators like ID, class name. You'll not find any of these locators. So in this scenario, you'll go for the XPath. And how you'll go for the XPath? Right click here, go to copy, and from copy, go to copy XPath. It's so simple. And again, get back to your Eclipse, the platform where you're writing this code, create a new method. Again, write this annotation test, create a new method over here, like void, you could say, go to home. I've created one method. Inside this, I'll write step for that. So I'll write again browser object dot find elements by dot XPath, and in this XPath, I'll pass the XPath values. And then because it's a click option, so I'll click here. Now this test case is done. So this will take you to the home page. So once you do this, you are into the home page. So this is how. Just below this, I have added the second test case. Now, because I'm adding the test cases one below after another, you will feel like that this will work in sequence. It's not like that. Though you are writing the test cases one after another, but it's not compulsory that it will work in that sequence. So to make that work in a sequence, in this test case, you need to write a keyword that is called priority is equals to 1. Sorry, it's just a second. It's priority is equals to 1. Same way you have to do for the second one. That's here. So here you have to just set the numbers. Now this one here, just you have to set the number as 2. So that means this one will execute first, then this one will execute second. And if you write a test case below this, that will execute third. So again, I am using this. Again, I am using this bracket, and here I'll mention it as third. Now what's my third test case? Let's check that as well. So my third test case over here is this. It says add the iPhone product to cart. That means once you click the home button, you are in the home screen. And once you are in the home screen, just you have to add this iPhone product to cart. That means once you click on this iPhone product, that particular product is added to the cart here. So you have to do that. You have to move towards that step. So first you'll open the iPhone page, then you will click on add to cart, and then you will see that product is added successfully. So in this test case, what it's saying, click on add to cart button and just straight away add it here. So now the second way is straight away go to this add to cart, click here, and you see this particular item is added to the cart over here. So it's already added. So you can go and add to cart here straight away. So this is another button that is add to cart. You have to add it here. So again, you have to follow the same step, that is go, right click, inspect. Now again, when you inspect, you look for those locators like ID, name, and all of them. Right now, if you read this highlighted section, you will not find any locator with name as ID or name or any class name type of thing. Class name is here, but I'll not prefer using class name. Instead, I prefer using the XPath because that's more reliable. So for the third test case, again, I'm going to create a third test case saying that void add to cart. And here I do write here that is, again, I'll write the same thing. Browser object dot find elements by dot XPath. And again, I'll paste my XPath, sorry. I'll go here to my website, to this highlighted section, right click here, go to copy, and from copy, I'll copy the XPath from here. And the XPath that I've copied, I'll paste it here. And again, I'll do click here. So this will add my text to, basically this will add this cart to the cart section. Now let's see, we have written 3 test cases. So see, for every test cases, I'm just creating a method, adding a step to it. And now let's run this and see whether it's working the same way as we are doing. So I go to run as, I go to TestNG, and let's see if these steps are happening or not. Because we have tested the first test case, so it's fine. But that's the login part, so it's better that you have to proceed that way. You have to do login and then come here. So you can't go to the main page without login. So the first test case I'm performing here, I'm logging here. The second one is we need to click on the home button that's on the left side of your screen. So you have to click on that and then you'll go to the home page. Now here, if this thing is not happening, so why this is not happening? It's because of few reasons. Now, in case of like when you are trying this Selenium thing, the default timing, or you say the default timing basically available for a particular test case to execute is 0 to 3 seconds. So sometimes it becomes difficult for that element to execute in that short period of timing. So in this case, what we do? In this case, just we add a line of code, that is this one. This, what it do, it just gives us an extension to perform a test case. So just here, I'm adding a test line that will give us an extension to our test code so that we can so that we'll have more than 0 to 3 seconds of timing. That's why we do this. So I'm going to add that. Now let's save this. So here you see I've added an extension of 10 seconds. So that means the default timing was 0 to 3 seconds. I added an extension of 10 seconds. That means here I've added a wait. In fact, we call this as wait. So this wait I'll add of 10 seconds. That means I have more time for that element to locate and make us visible or perform task here. So now I'll run this test case again. And the email address and password both will pass over here. Again, you'll go to the sign in. Now you see, just I added that line, so I'm able to do the next step. And also it says here cart successfully added. That means one item is added to the cart. So these are a few basic things that you'll study or you'll come across when you learn Selenium, and you'll get a clear vision, a clear picture of how we are writing the test cases. So from here, at least you can figure it out. Right here, I've tried 3 test cases and all the 3 test cases passed. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just reading the test cases. First, I perform it manually. I see, okay, this is the way how it goes manually. Now the same thing I start doing in terms of the code. And writing this code, if you see, it looks very simple. Just you have to understand what code you have to use in which scenario. So we have more test cases over here. Now these test cases we can try. Just I was trying to show you how to write these test cases and how these test cases, basically how you proceed when you have these test cases to write, and what exactly the job of a automation tester is. What they do, basically they write codes and make everything automated. That means nothing, you have to just write code, run the code, and everything will keep working on your screen. So that's the job of a automation tester. Basically they write straight away the codes there and just make that happen. So this is how it goes. We have more test cases to go, and again, the same way you'll proceed for these test cases, and you can write codes for that as well. So I've given you a glimpse of how this complete test cases are working, and how this thing is executing. Okay. And by this you have got an idea that how this complete coding thing looks like, how basically we write for this, or how basically how we write the test cases step by step, and what exactly we think while writing the test cases. And if you have seen, it's very easy writing these test cases. So that's why you can learn these things very easily. Just you have to understand the basic, and it's uh, just a few classes. It will take few classes, and you'll get ready with all these concepts, whatever you have seen me writing over here. I hope it's clear to you. Like whatever I have done, I hope it's clear. You have seen whatever I'm writing over here. What do you say, John? Yeah, so TestNG, basically your question is, so TestNG helps in testing part. What does Selenium do automation? What does Selenium do automation? So basically that's what I was saying. TestNG helps you to generate test report that's a part of testing. So these things, whatever you write, these annotation test, these all comes through, these are the part of TestNG. And these steps, what you are writing, these browser objects and all, these steps, whatever you are writing, it's of Selenium. So basically the Selenium is the basic of tools, and again you say advance of Selenium or you say the frameworks of Selenium, then TestNG comes into use. So it's that you can write these steps inside one class and run that in one shot. But the thing is there that TestNG make things more advanced. It adds few features, or you say few properties here. It adds few advanced things to your test cases that makes your test cases look better. Because of these steps that's added from TestNG, you get those test reports, you get all that things from there. Correct? So Selenium is the basic and TestNG is the advanced part of it. Clear. Okay, any more questions you have? You may ask. Go for it with your questions. It's good. You'll be asking more questions, you'll get an idea of it. So when you are learning automation testing, you'll be learning all of this like Java, you'll be learning Selenium, you'll be learning TestNG. So it's like it goes step by step. Uh, like you'll go through these steps like step by step. It's like first you'll get an idea of Java, how to write, how much weight is the percentage automation versus manual in average application. You see, it's basically these both plays an important role. When you do manual, it's like there are little bit limitations in case of manual. In case of manual, it's like time taking, and there are few limitations that okay, you can try these things, you can try these things. So it's like if you try 10 test cases manually, it's like it's enough. So it's like if you want for 20 test cases, then it's like it's time taking. So it's at one point you say that doing manual becomes difficult for you. But in case of automation is like you have written one code, like I've written one code for this, and I can pass as many as values I want here. I can pass 20, I can pass 100. That means just through one code I can test 100 scenarios, or you can say 100 datas. So that's the basic difference here. You can say about this manual and automation. There you have to go and do that thing manually. Here it becomes like it's just you are adding things straight away. Just you are writing code once and just making it use as many at times you want for same scenario. Correct? Yes, there are more of automation. See, both are parallel. You can't say that it's only more of automation, but it's parallel, like learning manual and then moving to automation is the best choice. So it's like going with both is a best approach, you say, because when you do manual, you get familiar with the test cases. And once you are familiar with the test cases, when you have got the ideas of the test cases, then you can easily write codes for that. You can automate that thing more easily. So I would say both are important, and that has equal weightage, you can say. It's like straight away doing automation without understanding the manual session. Again, in that case, you'll have more load. You have to understand, you have to be more better with the scenarios and all. So it's like that. When we do automation, we give that idea that, okay, this is how it looks. But when you do manual, you'll get the basic. From the basics, you'll start learning. So from the basic part, you'll have that those ideas that how these things are originated. The test cases, what you see here, that these test cases, what I have written, you'll get an idea that how, from where these test cases came. So that will give you a basic knowledge till your advanced level. So manual is your basic, automation is advanced. So both helps you to get job. In fact, if both in combination is more better than going with one. Got it? Any more questions, John? Wait, I hope I've cleared all your doubts. Now I see Kev, you can take over from here. Yeah, thanks. Kev, you there? Please take over from here.
Sure, sure. Yes, I am there. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to show all the things. So now I'm going to present you some few important things like the price and the schedule for all the things. So just a moment, I am sharing my screen. So once it's available, then I will show you the things. Yep, I'm showing my screen. I guess yes, it's visible to you guys
Just a sec.
now.
Just a sec.